Here we are in Studio B with none other than South African guitarist, singer Jonathon Butler. Thank you very much for joining us here on Frequency.
I'm happy to be here with you, Dave.
Your story is kind of like, to me, it's fit for HBO, Showtime. I mean, they could do a life story on Jonathon Butler. You grew up in South Africa during the times of apartheid.
Yep.
How does a kid from South Africa get out of the country and experience the kind of global appreciation that you've experienced in your life?
I think you have to be a dreamer. You know, I'm a passionate dreamer. I guess dreams don't come so frequently anymore. But I'm definitely a big dreamer. You know, I used to look up, watch the planes fly above in the sky, and I used to think, man, one day I'll fly out to America or England, and you know they'll hear me on the radio. My family were all musicians, so it was in my blood, and I really loved playing guitar. I loved singing. And all I ever wanted to do was this, music.
So was music kind of an escape for you?
It was my salvation. It set me free from, so many things, even though I was living dangerously, and we were living in dangerous times, apartheid, the struggles of poverty as well, which is where I came out of. Mm-hmm. And but having a guitar around the house was a way that I could just sit and play my guitar and escape from where most of the kids around me were playing, stabbing one another or throwing stones, or I found a place to hide.
And you started at a very young age. Weren't you doing shows and gigs when you were 7 years old?
My mom and dad used to be in the community doing variety shows to showcase all of us, because we would sit around the bonfires and in the wintertime to keep warm, because we grew up in this big shack, with no electricity and no running water. So we'd keep warm outside, and everybody sort of had a turn to sing, add a harmony. So my mother decided she's going to do a variety show and feature all of us. It was the craziest thing. It was the funniest thing because...
How many kids were there?
I mean, we're 12, and of course my nieces and nephews, we all lived in the same shack. It was like a little compound, We were like a nation on our own, in South Africa. But that was a crazy time in South Africa, to be a young black boy on white radio stations, having a pop chart success at #2, and having the entire nation from white and black just, screaming, mad fans everywhere. It was pretty crazy.
And you would go and play for white audiences, but
Absolutely.
You wouldn't, at the time, you wouldn't be able to use the restrooms, you wouldn't be able to eat.
No, we couldn't use the restrooms. As a matter of fact, I decided one day that I was going to go and use the whites-only restroom. And this guy got really upset, But the guy who owns the play beat him up in the toilet and said, this is my artist, and if he wants to use the toilet, just started beating him up. But those were just really confusing times for a child. Like for me, it was really confusing. I mean, they kind of wrapped me in a blanket, and then I have to hide in the shower room while the waiter's bringing the food out. It was a really crazy time.
And you've spent a lot of time now in South Africa since the apartheid regime ended. It must be, as a native son of that country, it must be incredible to go there and see your country free. Yeah. And what's that experience like?
I'm proud. I'm very proud because I spent, like 11 years before we became a democracy. Mandela came out of prison. I spent 11 years saying to myself, I'll never go play in South Africa again until I can play for everybody in the same room. So I'm real proud, very proud.
It's a good lead-in to talk about this new project, which is Gospel Goes Classical.
Yeah.
Now, seems like an incredible opportunity for you.
I'm a Christian Pavarotti.
Yes, I mean this is such a big part of you, and yet this is a new experience.
Yes.
Taking the music that you make and comes from the heart, and doing it in much more of a traditional classical environment.
I'm new to the gospel world. And so it was amazing just to sing Falling in Love with Jesus and some of the songs, and people just go, wow, aren't you the same guy that do Sarah? People go, did you give up jazz now? You don't do jazz? I said, no, I do both, And so thank God I'm able to do both.
Oh, we need you, Lord. We need you, Lord, right now.
Let's do a little bit of, since you got your guitar here and you've been kind of playing a little around it, one of the songs from Gospel Goes Classical,
right,
which is a song that you wrote that has become would you say that this is a gospel standard now? It's only a few years old.
I believe so. I can't tell you what that means to me, because when I wrote this, it was just a little song on a hike trail, just for myself.
How did it come to you?
And hiking, looking for rattlesnakes. I'm sorry, but that's not true. But I was hiking, and I like to go and kind of pray away from my house. Because to me, that gives me no distractions from TV, my wife's cooking. And then I can just pray and on my own. And I was just walking one day and, I started singing this song. Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus. Falling in love with Jesus was the best thing I've ever done. Oh, play it. In his arms I feel protected. In his arms I'm never disconnected, no. In his arms I feel protected. There's no place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be. There's no place I'd rather be.
Jonathon Butler, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure. What a pleasure.